Colette, good afternoon. Well, I guess the timing for the protest is appropriate. What is the main message you wish to convey through this protest action?
Thank you, Dan. So in the run-up to the budget debate of tomorrow, Women on Farms Project has submitted a written submission to the Treasury calling on the Minister to introduce a wealth tax on the richest 1% of the population. As we all know, in terms of wealth inequalities, South Africa is the most unequal country in the world. So we believe that the introduction of a wealth tax will, number one, it will reduce the wealth inequalities in South Africa, but number two, it will also generate revenue for much needed services such as land redistribution for women farm workers and dwellers, the introduction of a basic income grant, and so on. So a wealth tax on the richest 1% could actually generate an income of about 140 billion rand annually.
At what percentage would that tax be pegged? I mean, what would be its rate to give you to secure that much money that you've just referred to?
Yes. So, because we are calling, we would like people to regard a wealth tax as a solidarity tax, a progressive solidarity tax, whereby the richest 1%, and Dan, we're talking about 350,000 people in South Africa who own, more than 55% of the country's wealth. So 350,000 people, and they will also be, there'll be different bands with different wealth groups. So starting at a wealth tax of 3%, but up until about 7% for the super rich, and that band, the progressive band of 3 to 7% of a wealth tax will generate this income of about 140 to 170 billion rand.
Now, Colette, you said you've written to government as the Women on Farms Project asking for this wealth tax. You are looking forward to hearing, I guess, tomorrow's budget speech by Enoch Godongwana, whether or not it's been taken care of. And I understand you're going to be picketing as well. So you are also physically going to make your presence felt.
Absolutely. So Women on Farms Project will be joining many other civil society organizations and trade unions who are all protesting against the austerity budget, which we're all expecting. An austerity budget in a climate when food prices are at an all-time low, all-time high. We have, the poverty line, or the food poverty line, at 624 Rand. So it really is a very difficult time for most unemployed and poor households in South Africa. So Women on Farms Project will be joining other civil society organizations and trade unions to really picket against the austerity measures that we are expecting government to introduce, and to be calling on government instead for the introduction of a basic income grant, and in our case, the introduction of a wealth tax.
So it's like a coalition of civil society groups where you're looking at different aspects that you believe can improve the livelihoods of South Africans. A wealth tax is really what you are focusing on, but you also support the implementation of a basic income grant.
Absolutely. And so part of our the rationale for a wealth tax would be that it would generate the necessary revenue to cover a basic income grant, because whenever civil society talked about a basic income grant or a basic income support, the argument that is always put on the table is, how will we afford it? It's unaffordable. It's too expensive. So we are saying that the introduction of a wealth tax on this 1% of the richest South Africans will go a long way to generating revenue that will cover things like a basic income grant or basic income support.
Yeah. Do you have evidence where elsewhere in the world where such a wealth tax or similar type of a national solidarity effort, as you've called it, is working?
Well, interestingly, in the last year or two, both Bolivia and Argentina introduced wealth taxes. In Argentina's case, it was a once-off solidarity tax during COVID, a wealth tax, where they also targeted a very small number of super rich in Argentina and managed to generate billions of dollars. And in Bolivia, they've introduced a more ongoing, consistent annual wealth tax, which is also targeting a very small proportion of the super rich in the population, and that too has generated billions of dollars. So it is being done, and I think also in South Africa, Women on Farms Project is by no means the first organization to broach the issue of a wealth tax. There's also been academic research at the University of the Witwatersrand by Chatterjee and other academics who have also done the sums on the affordability or the need and necessity for a wealth tax. So I think we are joining the calls of people that have gone before, other civil society groupings, academics, and so on, who have been calling on the introduction of a wealth tax. We do need to do something really drastic, Dan, to address the inequalities in our country. We cannot have a situation in our country where in the last couple of years, billionaires like Anton Rupert have managed to actually get wealthier, by billions of rands during the COVID pandemic. And at the same time, poor South Africans have been left unemployed. 10 million South Africans go to bed hungry. We cannot have this immoral inequality when the tax base of the super rich is still something that can be tapped into and that can generate much needed revenue to address the fundamental inequalities in South Africa, but also to generate income that will see to things like land redistribution, the introduction of a basic income grant, free tertiary education for our children, universal healthcare, quality healthcare for poor communities like farm workers and farm dwellers. So the time
we'll have to wait.
Right now.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if Mr. Gondongwane would have something like this, but that's going to be delivered tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time. Colette Solomon, she's director of Women on Farms Project, very clearly articulating their demand for an introduction of a wealth tax in South Africa.